Want to be able to do this to every single boss and just melt them away? Well, today I'm going to share with you my one-shot max DPS build for Amara. Esiva, this is LaserBolt, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the one-shot build for Amara. Now, if you guys know, on my channel, I previously had a one-shot build, and that was primarily focused on using a different weapon. Now we're going to be using a different weapon, which automatically melts the boss like crazy, because ever since the patch went live, it's like they buffed and they nerfed some weapons, but until they ended up buffing one of the most OP weapons, making it even more OPer than it was. Now, before I share the build with you guys, I do want to remind you guys about our giveaway. We're giving away 2 free copies of Shadowkeep for the system of your choice. To enter and participate, it's super easy. All you have to do is click the link down below where it says Jump Nation, and you guys will be automatically entered. If that wasn't enough to get you guys excited, I do want to let you guys know that you'll also unlock exclusive features only found on the channel, like these amazing emotes and badges that you're only able to get here, plus also new features that are coming your way. So thank you everybody who has already joined. Thank you for supporting and keeping the dream alive. Alright, so now let's dive into the build. I do want to let you guys know, though, to get this to work, you are going to need some specific items, which we'll talk about later on in the video. But let's jump into the build and see what we're talking about. We're going to be using a little bit of Fist of the Element, a little bit of Mystical Assault, actually a lot of Mystical Assault, and a couple of Brawler just for survivability. Let's start off with the first tree. We're going to start with the first tree called Fist of Elements, and we're going to be dumping a total of 5 points to Anima. This is going to give Amara's status effect and increased damage and duration, so that's why we're going with here, because we're going to be using not only her status effect, but also her rush ability to give us more DPS or more damage. For row number 2, we're going to be taking a look at Tempest. We're going to dump 5 points into this one. What this is going to do, it's going to give Amara an increased elemental damage and shock damage, so basically any element that we're using is going to get buffed, and then shock damage will also be getting buffed as well. So really good one to have, as we are going to be working with a lot of elements within this build. Alright, so now let's head over to the Brawler tree. Now for the Brawler tree, we're going to be picking up a couple of points. Let's start off with row number 1. We're going to go with Personal Space. Personal Space is a really good one, especially when you go down, because the closer you are to an enemy, the more damage you're going to be putting. You're going to be able to go as high as 36% damage. Now remember, this number varies on how close and how far you're from the enemy. The closer you are, the more likely you're going to be getting that 36%. The further you are, you're probably going to be dipping like 30, 28, 25. So make sure if you ever go down or you really need to kill an enemy a lot faster, just get as close as you possibly can. Now for the second one in row number 1, we're going to be dumping 4 points into Clarity. This is just going to be giving us that nice survivability. It's going to allow us to constantly regenerate our health. What's nice about this one is that the lower that our health gets, the faster our regen will proc, so it gives us a nice survivability within the build and lets us last a little bit longer within the battlefield. Next, we're going to be dumping 5 points into Helping Hand. For a few seconds after using her action skill, Amara's arm remains active and grants her damage reduction, once again giving us that nice survivability, allowing us to output a lot of damage and to reduce the damage that's incoming. One thing that I love about this one is the duration. 15 seconds gives us a nice window of survivalness. Alright, so now let's go into Mystical Assaults, where all the magic is going to happen, and we're going to be bumping a lot of points in here due to the fact that this is where we're going to be getting our rush stacks. And this is what I want you guys to understand. The more you understand the way builds are made, the more likelihood you're going to be able to put one together yourself. So what we're doing here to actually output a lot of damage is stack up rush, and we're going to start off with row number 1. We're just putting 1 here just so we could activate that rush. So it says killing an enemy grants Amara a stack of rush. For every stack of rush consumed, Amara's action skill damage is temporarily increased. So theoretically speaking, the more rush you consume, the more damage you'll be able to output when you use your action skill. This is the reason why we're getting so much damage when we're shooting, is because we're stacking this rush by making ourselves injured, which I'll explain a little bit further in the video. Next, we're going to be dumping 3 points into Fast Hands. It's just going to improve your reload speed, weapon swap speed, and mode switch speed. This is just going to be more effective, give you a little bit more fluidity when you're fighting or when you're engaging enemies. Is it extremely important? Not really. I feel like if you feel that you're fine with reload and weapon swap, what I would do is, instead of jumping the 3 points that I dumped in this one, just jump 2 and jump a total of 5 into Violent Tapestry. Now for my build, I put a total of 4, but what I suggest is, if you feel like you're good with the whole weapon swapping thing, just do 2 points and then do a total of 5 on Violent Tapestry. Due to the fact that it's just going to boost your effective chance just a tad bit, and it's actually pretty important because rush is what's going to be making this build work. So what Violent Tapestry does is that when Amara has a status effect, it grants her a stack of rush. This is why you see that when we are doing the damage to the boss, we have already applied a status effect. So when we actually activate our action skill, our rush is already active, giving us that nice buff and damage. So that's why I would say just dump in 5 here instead of doing the 3 of the other one. If you feel like you're good with the guns, just go ahead and dump 5. Alright, so for row number 2, we're going to dump 1 point into this one. The reason we're only dumping 1 point is just because this is just going to give us reload speed when rush is active. Since we're technically using a rush skill, we might as well, get a little bit of that bonus. Next up, we're going to go to Transcend, and we're going to dump 3 points into this one. It's going to give Amara increased accuracy and critical hit damage. This is really important because we want to get that 27% critical hit damage. It's going to be very crucial, especially when dealing with bosses. Now, staying on the same row, we're going to go to Restless. We're going to dump a total of 4 points into this one. Amara gains increased action skill cooldown rate. This is going to allow us to use our skill more frequently. It doesn't matter if you dump 5. I mean, it's only 5 more percentile. So, I mean, 4 is technically a pretty good one here. All right, so we're going to skip row number 3 and go to row number 4. We're going to do From Rest. Amara gains improved fire rate and charge time. We're going to be using this one just because we want to make sure we keep going down on points, and we need to dump some points into this one. It's actually going to be very helpful, not so much for bosses, but for mob killing. Then we're going to go with one that's extremely important, which is Laid Bear. Enemies take increased damage from all sources for a few seconds after being damaged by Amara's action skill. So what you want to make sure is that when you're using this build, you want to make sure that your action skill hits first before you start shooting, because that's going to increase the damage. So once your action skill hits the target, then start shooting, it's going to give you a plus 25 increment for a total of 8 seconds. And as you guys just saw in the video when I killed the boss, it doesn't even take 8 seconds to actually kill him. Plus, that extra 25% is extremely helpful to have. And since we have a lot of cooldown with our action skills, we're going to be getting it constantly. We're going to be getting this 25% very often. Another one that's going to be fundamental to this build is Wrath. This is going to give Amara increased gun damage, and this in fact is increased after she activates her skill for a few seconds. So if you guys see right here, you're going to see the synergy. We're getting gun damage 20%, right? Then we also get the 25% when her action skill actually hits someone. So that's a total of 45% damage just on those 2 skills alone. And we're going to be using those very frequently. As you guys know, we want to make sure our action skill gets activated. It hits. We shoot out our bullets. We're going to get 45% just on these 2 abilities alone. So if you actually pair this with your action skill, you're going to get an additional 20. So it's going to put you at a total of 65 weapon damage when you shoot your gun once your action skill has concluded. This is just amazing. This is what kind of binds this build together and makes it super OP. Not only for bosses, but also for mob killing. The only thing you got to make sure you're constantly paying attention is that you're using your action skill and then going to work on that enemy so you won't have a hard time killing them. Alright, so next we're going to go to row number 5. We're going to be dumping 1 point into Awakening. Amara Rush stack gains increased effectiveness. Remember, the reason we're dumping 1 point is we're going to be using a lot of Rush in order to increase that DPS, and increasing the effectiveness, of course, is always a bonus. Last but not least, we're going to go with Avatar. Amara's action skill can be activated while in cooldown. This is going to be extremely important due to the fact that, remember, we're going to be getting most of our damage from when our action skill actually hits a target. So the faster and the more action skills we could use, the better it's going to be for us to output more damage. Plus, it also has the bonus that it's going to increase Amara's max stack, so that's going to give us more damage for when we're fighting bosses. Alright, so now that we got the build together, let's talk about items that you're going to need to have in order to make this work. So first and foremost, guys, I'm going to talk about weapons, and this is going to be one weapon in particular that you have to have. Now, the other weapons don't really matter in the sense of killing bosses, but for killing bosses, this is the weapon that you have to make sure you have. And we're talking about the Layuta. Now, the interesting thing about the Layuta is that it actually drops in different variants. It drops in Molten, Resolute Layuta, it drops in Annex, but the number one that you want to make sure is you want to make sure you have a Annex Layuta. The reason why you want to make sure you have a Annex Layuta is because that's the weapon that's going to give you the max DPS out of all the Layutas out there. Now, let me explain why. So the Annex Layuta is the only one that comes with a multi. For example, mine comes with 949 damage. Now, I have to multiply that by 2. So theoretically speaking, I'm getting a total of 1,800 damage when I shoot this plus, because I'm not even counting the 50, right? So we're getting 1,800 damage. Now, I have seen Layutas that drop, and I actually have one that has 1,400 damage, just standard damage. It does not have a multiplier. Now, one thing I've noticed after farming a lot for Layutas, and if you guys actually would like to see a Layuta farming video, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll put one together for you guys on the most effective way to actually getting one, is that I haven't seen one to drop standardly with 1,600 higher. I've only seen 1,400, 1,500. That's the maximum I've seen as far as damage is concerned. But the Annex Layutas, those actually drop really high. I actually even have one that's 1,050 damage multiplied by 2. So that's over 2,000 damage that I'm putting from the weapon. Another thing that's going to be very important and fundamental for your build is make sure that you get a fire one. This is going to be important for melting those red bars and those fleshies. As you guys know, fire does more damage to fleshies, and the majority of the bosses are fleshies or they have shock resistance. So you want to make sure you got a Layuta to be able to melt the boss super duper fast. Now, if for some reason you have a Layuta that has more than 1,600 damage without the multiplier, make sure you guys head over to my Discord. I want to see those pictures. I want to see those proofs because I still haven't found one. So I'll leave the link to my Discord channel down below. So now we have the weapon out of the way. This is going to be the primary weapon you're going to be using to kill bosses. Now, as far as weapons that you want to use, you can theoretically go with any weapon that's actually really, really good. I would say if you have a crossbow, you're good with that. Just make sure you have different elements like shock and fire and corrosive, just, you know, to make sure you know what shields to do. Now let's talk about the gear you're actually going to need. So first we're going to start off with the shield. Now for the shield, I have the Vanguard Recharger. There are multiple recharges, but the main thing you're looking for the shield is that you want to make sure that the shield instantly begins recharging when it's broken. That is the main focal point of the shield. You could have anything else here as long as you have that. So usually the recharger ones are the ones that have that drop. There's multiple rechargers. I don't think, do I have another one? Yeah, so I have this one. As you guys see, it's the same recharger, just that it gives me the same perk, right? As soon as my shield is broken, it's going to give me that recharge rate. Now, there's some that are anointed, and there's some that come with a little bit more perks than others, but the focal point here is make sure you get that recharger that gives you your shield back once it's broken. Another important part of this build is, of course, the class mod. Now, for the class mod, you're looking for the Face Seeker. Now, I had to actually farm this one quite a lot in order to actually get this one, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, as you guys see right here, I have multiple Face Seekers, but the reason why I had to farm for this one is because I would get Face Seekers, but I wouldn't be able to get the one with the 31% sniper rifle damage. That's a big important part of this build. Basically what I do is when I go kill the boss, I pop this one and I have my Layuta ready. Now if I'm not killing bosses and I'm just killing mobs, then I go with another one that actually gives me weapon damage for the particular weapon that I'm using. So if I'm using an assault rifle, I'll pop on this one. If I'm using my SMG, I'll put in this one. It's just determined on the one I want. But for the boss killing one, you want to make sure you get the one that has the plus 31 sniper rifle damage if you want to do that to Grave Ward, because that is going to give you that nice additional boost where you're going to be able to take him out in less than 1 second, 2 seconds. I mean, you just take him out fast. He just melts. And last but not least, as part of a requirement, it's going to be this artifact. And the reason why this artifact is so important is because it gives us a damage bonus of 183. Now, there are a couple ones out there that give you 83 damage with a bonus to Incinerary. So if you have that one, you could theoretically use that one, but you want to make sure you get the one with the 183. That's a big number to have there. And, you know, it gives you that nice little buff, and it makes the build pretty good. Now, this particular build, I don't consider it to be very favorable if you're a beginner. If you're playing Borderlands and you're starting to learn how to play everything or how to play Amara, I would consider this build for more intermediate players or more pro players. The reason why is because you need to be able to manage your action skill and be able to know when to engage and when not to engage, because it's a little bit squishy, but it just has a lot of damage and a lot of outbursts. Now, I did put this build in a test. It's not just a boss killer. It's a really good build even to run around in Proving Ground, Slaughterhouse, as long as you know how to play with this build. That's what I'm saying. It's more of an intermediate build. It's just a matter of being able to play. Now, for a grenade is concerned, if you're probably wondering, I always put a shock grenade because I use my grenade to just bring down shields. That's like the main focal point of my grenades. I don't really use them to DPS or to damage a lot of enemies. They're just there to bring down shields so I can use my weapon to, kill the fleshies with solar. That's the main reason why I'm doing this. Now, you're probably wondering, is Laser, how are you proccing such a fast kill when you're killing Graveward? Well, the reason why we're proccing a fast kill is because we're using the Super Bowl to damage ourselves. And remember, when we damage ourselves, our shield will begin to break, and that's going to apply a status effect. Once that status effect is applied, we then jump down and we shoot him because we're going to be getting that maximum rush when our action skill hits, giving us that nice bonus damage. Now, there are multiple weapons you could use to apply that status effect. You could use a grenade, you could use the Super Ball, you could use another pistol that also applies status effect to you when you get shot. So there are multiple ways for you to apply the status effect. It doesn't even take that long. So if you want to kill him, just apply the status effect to yourself and go kick Graveyard's booty to the ground. And there you guys have it. This is the one-shot build for Amara. I hope you guys like this build. If you do, let me know what other character you want a one-shot build for. I'm currently working on a Sane build and also on a Flag build. But if you want to see a MELTS build, check out the one I have for the one-shot. That's still the most effective and OP build out there. I have no reason why Flag got nerfed when, MELTS is super OP with that build.